republic. I don't want us to take that for granted, because what we're here to do and what this campaign is about, what this larger movement is about, is establishing a loving society in the United States of America. And that is not some kind of irrational, overly feeling, sympathetic statement or sentimental statement. Because what a loving society is an advanced society. A just society, a loving society, is one that guarantees health care to all people. A loving society, an advanced society, an anti-racist society, is a society that guarantees education of equal quality and merit to all people. And not just the education of a century ago, an education for the century to come. And that means tuition-free public colleges and trade schools in the United States of America. A loving society embraces immigrants and realizes that we cannot do this without each and every one of us linking arms together. A loving society, an advanced society, make sure that we have a planet to give to our kids. A loving and advanced society knows that we cannot continue an imperialist form of foreign policy. A loving and advanced society doesn't think of human rights as a nice to have. It thinks of human rights as the central focus of what we should be establishing here and abroad. One of the reasons why I am part of this campaign is because I know, and we all know, that this isn't just about Bernie Sanders. This is about a movement that has been decades in the making. This is not about just 4 years. This is about our lifetimes. And one of the things that makes this campaign different is that we know that we can't go back to the way things were before. Because the way things were before is how we got to where we are now. We cannot go back to a world where the rich are put first and working people are put last in Washington day in and day out. We cannot go back to a world that explodes our military budget and nobody thinks anything about it. I have to tell you, these last few weeks in Congress, we've been passing appropriations budget after budget. And one of those budgets was the defense budget. And what we're seeing, and what we just passed, was a budget that was $120 billion more than Obama's budget leaving in his last year in office. $120 billion more. Now, I think it's really critical that we think about this for a second. Because not once was I or anyone I know asked whose taxes are going to go up to pay for that. Not once was I asked, are we going to tax the rich or tax the middle class? Not once. This is not just some kind of campaign line. This is reality. We only talk about raising taxes when it comes to taking care of our kids and saving our planet and establishing health care. It is an ultimate hypocrisy. So I'm here to say and to tell you, when someone asks you, how are we going to pay for it? The question is not that. The question is not, how are we going to pay for it? The question is, how do we want to pay for it? Do we want a wealth tax? Do we want a Wall Street transaction tax? Do we want to treat our lives as equal in value to how much we treat our military budget? Yes, because budgets, as Dr. King said, are moral documents. Budgets are moral documents. They tell us, dollar and dime, how much we value ourselves and our priorities in that order. And what this campaign is about is a radical realignment of our priorities in the United States of America. Because we know, once again, that this moment is not about one 4-year presidential campaign. This is a movement decades in the making. It's a movement of anti-racist Black liberation activists, of immigration activists, of queer liberation activists, of the labor movement. It is a movement of all people and causes come together. And we have to take it to the starting line, because that's what we're fighting for. This election is about the start of this work, because we're nowhere near there right now. So we need to fight to start this work, the establishment of an advanced society. Because as much as we like to say, thank you, but thank you. Because as much as we like to say that the United States is the richest country in the history, or rather in modern history, for who? The richest country. Who cares about how much gold is being amassed if we can't realize an advanced society with those resources? And we're here to say that what we're living in right now is not an advanced society. A society that allows people, it is fascism, what we're evolving into as well. And so one of the things, thank you. And so one of the things, thank you, and that's the work that we're committed to. And so what we have to I'm a little thrown off, but I'm coming back here. I'm coming, recentering guys. And so what we gotta do is to say that a nation that allows people to die because they can't afford their insulin is not an advanced nation. A nation where people are too poor to live while GDP skyrockets and the Dow goes up and the NASDAQ and stock prices continue to skyrocket is not an economy that's working for us. And if we're measuring our success based on stock prices and not wages, we've got a problem. We have to determine our measures of success. And one thing more is that this is not just about the concentration of capital and wealth on the 1%, or rather the top tenths of 1%. But it's also about that happening on the scaffolding of slavery and imperialism and racism. And when we acknowledge both of those things at once, we can establish justice. And I'm telling you, it's not that far off. It is always darkest before dawn. And it's dark right now, needless to say. But there are several ways in which Senator Sanders distinguishes himself. One way is that he has one of the most ambitious climate plans in the country, period. His Green New Deal is a solution that actually attempts to be on the scale of the crisis. If you want to know what we risk if we don't act adequately on climate, look at what is happening in Australia right now. The fires are so big, they can't even fight them anymore. We're seeing 3 days of the hottest days on record happening in a row. People are trapped. Species are going endangered in a very small period of time. We belong to the earth, not the other way around. And policy that honors Indigenous wisdom and leadership is smart policy. When it comes to foreign policy, Bernie Sanders also stands unique among the field. His long commitment to making sure that we are scaling back endless war is proven, and it is strong. And he knows that foreign policy is also domestic policy for so many of us. For our families, for people who have families abroad. And he knows that whether it's here at home with Puerto Rico or out abroad in Palestine, that human rights are for everyone. The right to clean water, the right to access medicine. None of these things are controversial. And that human rights are not a zero-sum game, where the gains of another are a threat to ourselves. We reject that outright. But the thing is, we need to get on that starting line. We have to get on that starting line. And so what I am asking you all to do is to contribute meaningfully to this movement, to your movement. And what that means, it's more than just $1. It's more than knocking on a door. But what I always say is that each and every one of us has something to give. We all have something to give. Whether it's showing up with your neighbor and translating a form for them, whether it is knocking on your neighbor's door, whether it's creating art and posting it on the streets, whether it's writing an essay on Facebook, but don't argue with anybody, okay? That's a waste of time. We all have something to give. And what I am asking is for all of us to give whatever we can. That is what revolution looks like. And that's what we have to give. And it is happening all over the country and the world. Look at what happened in Puerto Rico earlier this year. Millions, or rather, huge percentages of the island coming out. And when they took out everything, when people were holding up signs and said, they took so much from us, we weren't scared of anything we had to lose. People went out to the streets and they engaged in what we call as cacerolazo, which is they had a wooden spoon and a pan and they made noise until they got it done. That's a big part of the movement in front of us. And we have a long list of things to do. We need to dismantle ICE and CBP. We need to recognize climate refugees. We need to guarantee a living wage. And we need to unite our fight. And so with that, I'm just so thankful to be here in this moment and in this movement with you. So again, I want to ask you to wear out your shoes. I want to ask you to create art for this, to paper the streets for this, to give $10 for this, to knock on a door for this, to do whatever you can for this, because this is what revolution looks like. And by the way, for anyone who accuses us for instituting purity tests, it's called having values. It's called giving a damn. It's called having standards for your conduct, to not be funded by billionaires, but to be funded by the people, which is different. And I can tell you, as a member of Congress, when people say that there is no difference between being funded by a handful of wealthy people and being funded by small grassroots donations, let me tell you something. I go into work all the time, and I hear people say, "What will my donors think?" I hear that phrase. And I see that billionaires get members of Congress on speed dial and waitresses don't. Okay? There's a difference. And a candidate that is accountable to small dollar donors is fundamentally differently aligned than anybody else. So with that, I want to introduce to you Senator Bernie Sanders.
the next First Lady of the United States, Jane Champion.
Hey, my gosh, what an incredible crowd. Thank you. I'm here as a kind of character witness for this character. As a wife of 31 years, as a co-worker for 38 years, I can attest that there is nobody that you could trust more, count on, and believe in than Bernie Sanders. I wanted to let you know that the whole campaign is not me, us, but there are other people that are behind the scenes all the time that sustain Bernie and I. Two of our sons, Dave and Levy, are here today. And two of our daughters are not here today, but they will be on other trips. We have 7 grandchildren and our children's spouses. They all support us in every way, and I just wanted to let you know that. They would agree with me 100% that Bernie was our choice growing up, working together, being married and having a family, a blended family together. And he is my choice and their choice to be the next president of the United States.
Thank you all, and let me thank the folks who have gone before me. Let me thank the local natives for their music. Jesse and Joy, Young the Giant, Councilmember Mike Bonan, Councilmember Gil DeSibilio, Assemblymember Reggie Byron Jones-Sawyer, Jennifer Epps Addison, Christina Livingston, and Anna Maria Achilia. Let me thank my old and dear friend, Dr. Cornel West. Let me thank Tim Robbins. And let me thank Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. We kind of take it for granted, but Alexandria has been in Congress for less than 1 year. And in that 1 year, she has accomplished more than hundreds of members of Congress combined. She has spoken out against racism, sexism, homophobia. She has stood up for the working families of this country. Alexandria, thank you so much for your participation in this campaign. I don't have to tell anybody here that we are living in difficult and unprecedented time in American and world history. We have a president who is a pathological liar, who is running a corrupt administration, who is a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, a xenophobe, and a religious bigot. Other than that, not so bad. That's a joke. Brothers and sisters, what our campaign is about is not only defeating Trump. Our campaign is about a political revolution. It is about transforming this country. It is about creating a government and an economy that works for all people and not just the 1%. As Alexandria mentioned, what we have right now in America is a corrupt political system. It is a system in which billionaires are buying elections. It is a system in which voter suppression is taking place every single day. Some of you may have noticed that just in the last week, you had Republicans trying to purge hundreds of thousands of voters in Wisconsin and Georgia. What our campaign is about, what our administration will be about, is one person, one vote, not billionaires buying elections. And I am proud to tell you that as of this moment, our campaign has received more contributions from more people than any candidate in the history of the United States of America. We don't have a super PAC. We don't want a super PAC. We don't go to rich people's wine caves. This is a campaign of the working class of this country, by the working class, and for the working class. This is a campaign that will win, because while Trump wants to divide us up based on the color of our skin, or where we were born, or our religion, or our sexual orientation, our campaign and our administration is about bringing people together. Black and white, Latino, Asian American, Native Americans, we are coming together. And we are coming together around an agenda that works for working people, not billionaire campaign contributors. And what that agenda says is that if you work 40 hours a week in America, you should not live in poverty. And that is why we're going to raise the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour. We're going to have equal pay for equal work for women. And we are going to make it easier for workers to join unions. What this campaign understands is that a well-educated population is the future of America. And that is why we will implement universal, high-quality, affordable child care. That is why we will put billions into Title I low-income schools all across America. And that is why we understand that if we love the kids, we love our teachers. We don't want teachers with great experience leaving the profession because they got to work 2 or 3 jobs. We don't want teachers taking money out of their own pockets in order to buy school supplies. We're going to fund public education, and we're going to make sure that every teacher in America earns at least $60,000 a year. And I want young people, including those of you here today, to give serious thought about becoming teachers. There's no job more important. We desperately need you. And when we talk about education, that means that we will make public colleges and universities tuition-free. I grew up in a working-class family, and I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. And I want every person in this country, regardless of his or her income, to know that they will have the opportunity to go to college, to go to a trade school, and not worry about how to pay for that. "11 years ago, against my vote, Congress voted to bail out the crooks on Wall Street. 2 years ago, Trump and his friends gave $1 trillion in tax breaks to large corporations and the 1%. Well, if Congress can bend over backwards for the rich and the powerful, we can cancel all student debt in America. And we are going to do that through a modest tax on Wall Street speculation. The working families of this country bailed out the crooks on Wall Street. Now it's time for Wall Street to help the working families of this country. And I know you, are embarrassed that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people as a human right. The current healthcare system is not only dysfunctional, it is extraordinarily cruel. We are spending twice as much per person on healthcare as do the people of any other country. And yet 87 million of our people are uninsured or underinsured. 30,000 die each year because they don't get to a doctor when they should. 500,000 people go bankrupt because of medically related bills. Think about that. 500,000 people going bankrupt for what crime? Because they were diagnosed and treated for cancer, for heart disease, for Alzheimer's. That is not a system we will retain in America. The function of a rational healthcare system is to guarantee quality care for all, not to make huge profits for the drug companies and the insurance companies. So brothers and sisters, the day is coming, and it's coming soon, where we will pass a Medicare for all single-payer program. No more premiums, no more co-payments, no more deductibles, no more out-of-pocket expenses, no more paying outrageous prices for prescription drugs. Always seems impossible until it happens. It always seems impossible until it happens. And this is a man who walked out of a jail in South Africa to become president of that country. But what Mandela was saying is that the establishment, the economic establishment, the political establishment, the media establishment tells us every single day not to dream big, not to have high expectations, not to believe that we can make fundamental changes in our society. But we know differently. We know that the history of change in America always takes place from the bottom on up. That is the history of the trade union movement. It is the history of the civil rights movement. It is the history of the women's movement. It is the history of the gay rights movement. It is the history of the environmental movement. And where we are right now in this pivotal moment in American and world history is a moment in which tens of millions of Americans from California to Vermont have got to look around them, stand up, and understand that the status quo just is not working. Don't tell me that when we stand together, we cannot create an economy that works for all, not just a few. Don't tell me that we cannot have the best public educational system in the whole damn world. Don't tell me that we cannot join the rest of the industrialized world and guarantee health care to all as a right. Don't tell me that we cannot lead the world in transforming our energy system and creating millions of good-paying jobs as we combat climate change. Don't tell me that we cannot end a racist and broken criminal justice system. Don't tell me that we cannot have a sane and compassionate immigration system. Don't tell me that we cannot move aggressively to end gun violence in America. And don't tell me that we cannot protect a woman's right to control her own body. Brothers and sisters, I'm a United States Senator and I deal with the corporate elite every day. I deal with the greed of Wall Street and the insurance companies and the drug companies and the fossil fuel industry and the military industrial complex and the prison industrial. I know all these guys. They are powerful people. They have an endless, and I underline the word endless, amount of money. But at the end of the day, the 1% is 1%. And if we in the 99% stand together, if we don't allow Trump and his allies to divide us up based on the color of our skin or where we were born or our religion or our sexual orientation, if we stand together, if we have the courage to take on the greed and corruption of the corporate elite, if we are prepared to bring our friends and our family into the political struggle, if we have a vision of a just and humane society in front of us, brothers and sisters, when we stand together, when we fight together, there is nothing we cannot accomplish. Thank you all very much.